Welcome to Star Citizen and the ship guide to the Crusader Hercules Starlifter C2 and M2. In this modular guide, we will go into detail about two of the most interesting transport ships in the verse to date. With the Crusader Hercules Starlifter series, which includes the C2 as the civilian transport version, the M2 as the military counterpart, and the A2, which is treated as a heavy ground bomber in a separate guide, the Hercules versions offer a wide range of very interesting ships. And as in every guide, you can jump directly to the parts that are of interest to you, or which you would like to see again, using the timestamps in the video. We start with the exterior, the technical data, and the differences in cargo and load capacities. After that, we will take a detailed tour of the interior and go into the operational purposes and combat capabilities of the C2 and M2. But first, a big thank you to the true ladies and gentlemen who make this video possible with their support as Patreons, channel members or Twitch subscribers. Thank you! The Hercules Starlifter series, from the C2 to the M2 up to the A2, which is not covered in this guide, have identical dimensions, with a length of 94 meters, a width of 70 meters and a height of 23 meters. The Starlifter series is classified in the size large and offers surprisingly good flight values, which are not only reflected in the pitch, yaw and roll values, but also in the speeds. The civilian C2 is equipped with industrial standard components, as the military variant M2 is equipped with military components. We recommend replacing the quantum drive with a faster module, especially for the C2. With 696 SCU cargo capacity, the C2 currently offers the maximum, whereas the M2 can still fall back on 523 SCU. We will come to the details of the differences in the cargo area in a moment. Both variants can be bought in the upper price segment for limited sales in the pledge store, and as our recommendation, permanently in the game for about 5 million Alpha USC. The Starlifter series is fully usable solo, but offers extensive multi-crew capabilities, which provide a distinct advantage, especially in combat. A variety of amenities are available, as well as for the M2, 12 additional drop seats. The armament is identical except for an additional remote turret for the M2. The pilot has access to 2 size 5 hardpoints and the crew to remote turrets with 2 size 4 laser cannons each. In the standard loadout, with the size 4 gimbal laser cannons, a manageable 971 DPS is achieved with 420 alpha damage. In the recommended fixed PvE loadout with size 5 laser cannons, the damage potential increases significantly to 2525 DPS and 3000 alpha damage. With the additional turret, the M2 offers a good 1000 DPS more multi-crew potential. The basic orientation and concept of the C2 and M2 is the transport of all kinds of vehicles for civilian or even military use, whereby the capacities are identical for both variants. Due to the improved armoring and the associated higher basic weight, however, the cargo capacity of the M2 is limited compared to the lighter C2 variant. This is the reason for the difference in cargo capacity. With a maximum load of the C2, which means utilizing the cargo hold height, 696 SCU of cargo capacity are generated, whereby the compartments are divided into 2 blocks, and there is still room for a small vehicle or hoverbike in the middle section. In the M2, on the other hand, the cargo space height is not fully utilized, whereby the existing cargo difference is created and only 523 SCU of cargo capacity is achieved. Here too, the 2 compartments are separated, and a small vehicle or bike can be parked between them. Since the cargo area has basically the same dimensions in both variants, the load capacity of vehicles here is identical. Several Nova battle tanks, ballistas, Ursa rovers, Spartans and, of course, any smaller vehicles can be comfortably transported. The 2 extendable ramps at the front and rear also enable fast and effective loading and unloading of vehicles. Here again, the basic concept of the Starlifter series as a vehicle transporter becomes clear. The Starlifter series has two decks, with the lower deck representing the large cargo and loading area. This is accessible by vehicle via a red illuminated rear ramp and a curved front ramp. Controls for the loading ramps themselves, as well as for the three different lighting modes, are located directly in the area of the loading ramps. Placed in the center, we find a passenger lift that leads to the lower exterior area, to the cargo hold and to the upper deck. This offers space for several people and is the direct access to the ship on foot. Alternatively, there is a ladder in the lift area, but this only leads from the lower deck to the upper deck. There are no other access possibilities or even a docking collar. In the upper deck, we find a centrally placed, elongated corridor that leads to all areas to the Starlifter. In addition, some of the semicircular containers in the middle section offer various ship components or storage facilities for personal equipment. In the stern is the openly accessible engine room on the same level, which houses the propulsion system, among other things. Via the typical Crusader round locks, we reach the bridge area, which offers several of these locks and makes it difficult to reach the bridge quickly. On the way, there are again various ship components, escape pods and a weapons compartment. The bridge itself of the C2 offers space for the pilot and co-pilot, whereby the side areas in particular do not yet offer any functionality apart from an MFD. Space for future extensions and functions on the bridge is therefore still possible. The cockpit already offers physicalized, individually operable switches and buttons, which are located in the center console and in the upper area. In addition, there is a retractable compartment at the end of the center console, which however does not yet have any functionality. Also without function so far are usable compartments directly at the entrance to the bridge. In the military M2, the bridge offers the difference that there is another seat behind the pilot for a third crew member, whereby this can operate a forward-facing additional gun turret. The rear and lower turrets are operated from the co-pilot seat in all variations. Access to the crew quarters, the lounge area, the galley or drop seats in the M2 armory is via the corridor in the central area. This also gives us access to the propulsion system and the engine area. Above all, the different lighting modes of the three lighting levels contribute to the immersion and the typical Crusader flair. The Starlifter series offers an enormous amount of space for personal equipment, and some areas have already been physicalized for this purpose. And the engine area is worth a closer look anyway. In the side-mounted crew quarters, there are beds, desks as well as an integrated washing facility to make long-term trips with the Starlifter possible. Here, the details are, as usual, very well done, and in addition, each bed has its own lighting control. The difference between the civilian C2 and the military M2 in this area is that the crew quarter has a small kitchen directly adjacent to the quarters, which on the C2 is more expansive and luxurious in its own area. And going in search of details is always worthwhile. On the opposite side of the crew quarters, the C2 has a large lounge and a well-equipped kitchen. Here, two crew members could avoid each other for a longer period of time, if necessary. In contrast to the C2, the M2 offers 12 drop seats and an attached armory, with ample space for weapons and equipment. This makes the M2 a very interesting alternative to dedicated dropships, although its firepower should not be underestimated, as we will see in a moment. The main purpose of the M2 is to drop vehicles and troops in hot landing zones. Because of its good shield capacity, the Starlifter series can take a few hits before the shields fail and damage hits the hull. This provides enough time for vehicles and troops to drop and move out of the combat zone. For such mission scenarios, the M2 is preferable to the C2 due to its stronger armor, which is not yet implemented in the game, and the possibility to carry troops, but which offers the same vehicle transport capacity. But now we come to the combat capabilities of the C2 and M2 variants. The M2 differs in that it has an additional remote turret under the nose, which the C2 lacks. Otherwise, the firepower, flight characteristics and shield capacities are identical. Especially with a crew controlling the remote turrets, the Starlifter series offers very strong firepower. Although missiles or torpedoes have to be dispensed with altogether. In addition, only one of the two turrets available there can be controlled via the co-pilot, although the second turret also implements the control commands, but due to the lack of forward area of influence, is then only available in the rear area. The M2 offers the possibility of having a third crew member control the front-mounted turret via the additional seat behind the pilot. The co-pilot's interconnected turrets offer very good striking power, especially against rearward targets. In principle, the two size 5 hardpoints for the pilot offers sufficient armament for a ship of this size, although direct combat against smaller targets should only be sought with a co-pilot. A fully manned M2, on the other hand, is a danger not to be underestimated against any opponent. For military use, apart pure trade or transport, the M2 therefore offers the better overall package. In conclusion, the Hercules C2 offers everything that is currently needed for maximum trading or vehicle transport, is surprisingly affordable to buy, especially in the game at just under 5 million Alpha USD, and also offers sufficient firepower to be able to fight back if necessary. With the Hercules M2, we also get the possibility to transport vehicles extensively, as well as to be equipped for trade with sufficient cargo capacity. With its expanded armament, the M2 is also very powerful as a multi-crew ship, which makes combat missions possible in every area. And finally, thank you for the support of the members of the Royal Retirement Lounge.